I'm not here to say, oh, free Keeners, by the way, you've done this, this, and this in the past, and I don't agree with that. I'm here to support people and hopefully set a positive example and hopefully, give people hope in the sense that the system can work. There's an open city council position right now, and anyone in our community can run for that position and create change. Because we were unhappy with the incident, the drinking game in city council, and we want we want to do things that are effective. We want to see change handled in a way that creates change. And in my opinion, I don't think turning city council meetings into drinking games is an effective way of doing that. I think if anything, it draws a negative publicity and hurts your cause.
Jeff, if I may, I think that it's really important as an activist to set a really strong positive image if you want more people to join your cause, and I think you might agree with me that that's what about positive images.
Definitely. We're about creating change in a positive way. We're about holding people accountable and being like, hey, we're a group of people in this community, and this is what we believe, and there are methods and practices and procedures of creating change.
How does an entire group agree with one thing, though? Is there any one belief that you can really pin on a group, like the entire city?
It's not necessarily about a belief. I don't think it's more about how you choose to support or not support your beliefs.
Right.
I think it's obviously an entire group of people isn't necessarily going to believe one thing, or even if they do believe the same thing, they're not going to believe,
The thing
how
is,
to
he
go
just
about
said
it.
that. He said, this is our community and this is what we believe.
Well, you can believe in methods.
Right.
I don't.
Just trying to clarify. I'm not. Attacking.
We're all part. We all have different beliefs. Again, I'm not. You got. Excuse me. The free Keene movement.
I'm not a free Keener. I'm a free stater.
Okay. We have different beliefs.
Right.
We have different politics, and I'm not here to argue politics. We all have
me
different
neither.
beliefs.
Actually.
I think that I'm very much a liberal and have very socialistic values, and I think that I have a great friend who's a libertarian, speaks very high, has his views on it, and I think there's a way to find a balance between that, and I respect people's beliefs, but I think we should do it in a positive way.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, I do too. Are there any positive things that free Keeners have done?
Yeah, that's why we're here tonight.
That's why we're here tonight.
We're not
because
here to,
So the letter's the only example?
It's just the first.
This is the one example
most immediate one that
we're.
we could
You
come
have to
out to show
understand,
support
this
for.
group just started
I know.
very recently. So.
I know, and actually I want to come out to your protest or demonstration, when you demonstrate against some of the tactics, because even I disagree with some of the tactics that are used.
And it's not that we haven't planned anything to a great extent yet, but it's not that we're going to be protesting against
Free Keeners, yeah.
or free Keeners, but it's going to be that we're trying to promote alternative ways that we believe are positive.
I like that.
Thank you.
High five.
That's.
Yeah, we don't want to create a rift. We don't want to separate ourselves and create enemies. That's not going to help anything.
Yeah, alienation will not lead to change.
And
I think it's accomplished that way.
And I think just in a very short time, just with this Facebook group, there's a lot of free Keeners, free staters, other people participating in that. And I think that's where it starts. I think it starts with
it's been going on in the Free State Project for a long time.
Sure, but I think it starts with open communication between people with different perspectives and different sides of the coin. I think you have to start talking, and hopefully we can do it.
What was your name?
I'm Jeff.
Luther. Well, Chris, but everybody calls me Luther.
Good to meet you.
Yep.
Thanks for coming out.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure I've talked to you online a couple times.
Oh, you can?
I'm Annie, yeah. Hi.
Nice to meet you as well.
You too.
Cool. Well, I'm going to head inside, guys.
Okay.
Well, I think that it's a positive way of changing. I think that's.
I would say, is there a group of people currently working, within City Hall to change that law again?
No.
Then I think that there needs to be. I think there needs to be a group of people to be like, stand up for whatever they believe in and approach it from that way.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen? People, I don't know, is that the way to necessarily solve the problem?
Well, homeless people are getting fed. There's in Orlando. There's 10,000 homeless.
One would argue that it's a short-term solution. And
it's not as many homeless people as could be getting fed.
Yeah.
But do you feel that by pushing them away from City Hall to where the bureaucrats don't see them, which is exactly what their ordinance was designed to do, is going to make them want to reach out and help them more or less because they never see them?
I think that there are people in that community that are much more aware of that situation, and it's in their power to do so, and they should do so. They should become involved because it's there. They have the opportunity. I'm sure they have newspapers, write letters to the editor. People need to be aware of what's happening, and
Okay.
people who.
Sure.
Can you tell me how, where you see the correlation between feeding the homeless and using a megaphone at middle schoolers yelling "school sucks" at them?
Those are completely different events.
They are.
But
you just related this feeding the homeless thing.
Can I answer the question? Okay, those are completely different events. One is challenging a law that's currently on the books. The school outreach is exactly that. It's outreach to show kids some alternative views to what's being taught to them.
It's an interesting way to phrase it, school outreach, when you're using a megaphone to yell at kids that school sucks.
No,
That's
not true. You're making a statement that's not true. What we've never just said school sucks. We've said
schoolsucks.org or .com,
schoolsucksproject.com.
Yeah.
There's also a sign that says education rocks, schoolsucks.com.
But it's about,
Yeah.
I think it comes back into about
what was the main
message you're sending. Yeah, the message you're
The
sending.
message sending is go to schoolsuckspodcast.com and
I
listen.
talked to you about this online too, and it's not like the metaphor that I use. It's like saying to someone, don't think about pink elephants, but then when they think about pink elephants, you accuse them of doing something you told them not to. You admit it. You told me online that it's like you're getting people to think a certain way by using these words. Like you could have used other words to present the situation differently.
Well, it's not.
I'm not necessarily discounting it, and you can definitely, if you believe that the public school system is not the best way to educate someone, then I think it's great that you go out and try and get people to do that. But what we're saying is that there are different ways to go about that don't necessarily create negative stigmas.
Okay. Well,
towards
hold
your
on.
project.
I didn't create the podcast.
Well,
I didn't come up with the name.
I'm not trying to accuse you
But
personally.
you were involved
from
in it,
what I know, I've listened to a few of the episodes. It's the best thing out there. I would love for somebody like you who disagrees with that message to create a podcast that teaches kids what they're being taught and the flaws in the educational system, and do it in a completely different way. But nobody's stepping up to do that.
Yeah, but even if you agree that the message that program or whatever is sending, do you still think it's the best thing to do is to promote it, even if you know that by promoting it, you're promoting also a negative image for your cause?
So yes, I would rather kids come across a message that I feel is very empowering to them and uplifting to them, even if it's presented in a slightly negative light that I may not completely agree with. I'd rather them do that than remain in ignorance.
Okay,
Can
but
I say
it's not.
something?
Sure.
I would like to say one of my friends went to a school program called North Star. Their slogan is "Learning is natural, school is optional." I think that's a much more positive statement.
I like
the
that.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Is that like a compass?
It's like an aided homeschooling program.
Okay.
It's like the Compass School.
Yeah, it's
So,
like the compass.
so the guy that runs the School Sucks podcast his name is Brett Vanote. If you go to his website, you can send him an email and tell him all of this stuff.
Yeah, and that's all we're trying to do by creating all these, creating the Facebook group and stuff.
And if he comes up with a better name and wants to rename his domain and all that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're not trying to
And then I
attack
could make signs that
anything.
promote that instead of School Sucks.
We're not trying to attack anything that you personally or you the Free Keene whoever believes in.
Yep.
We're trying to say is that, at least personally, I know that a lot of people in Free Keene and Free State, etc., they don't want negative things to happen to the community. And I think but I just think unfortunately a lot of the tactics that have been employed recently, whether or not they're the only tactics, they're pretty much the only tactics that a lot of people in Keene see.
Yep.
They're definitely the most public. And I think like this is just trying to show that there are other ways to go about things that can create just as much of a publicity frenzy or whatever, you know, if that's what you're concerned about. Like, it's obviously important to draw publicity to your cause, but it's also about creating a positive publicity rather than a negative one.
Okay.
Because, you know, there's no such thing as bad press or whatever, which is true. Like, even if it's bad, you still get people to listen to you. But okay. I just don't think that it's good for a community image, and I don't think it really, in the end, helps your cause, because people end up being sympathetic to the opposite of what you're trying to, you know, present.
Okay, so Annie, we plan most all of these events in the forum, talk about them in advance, discuss ways to go about it. Would you come in and give your feedback
Yeah,
to
definitely.
those?
I mean, that's what I've been trying to do the past week or so. I mean,
Okay.
I've definitely tried to be very present in there.
I think one of the most important things about this group is the Free Keene from the Free Keene Stigma is that we're trying to make a conversation come up between the locals of Keene who aren't necessarily part of the Free Keene movement and the Free Keene movement itself, and actually have that become an active conversation so that feedback can be brought back and forth and there can be attention brought without it being a negative attention.
If anything, I think hopefully a lot of what we'll accomplish is help bring, you know, help other Keene citizens who would originally be, you know, I've heard a lot of people just be like, oh my god, you know, Free Keene is crazy. Like, they do all these crazy things. I don't want to listen to them at all. I think hopefully, you know, we'll be able to also help you. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we're taking you on to some sort of charity cause or whatever, but like, I think you do stand for a lot of good things, and I think you stand for a lot of things that people in Keene would agree with. You know, a lot of people do think that there are better alternatives to public education and stuff like that. And so I think, you know, by letting the rest of the community know, like, look, these people don't just, you know, stand around and smoke pot and stand naked all the time. You know,
Nobody's ever stood naked. So
Well,
when
okay,
you
sorry,
see,
it's
when you
half
use words
naked.
like
I
that,
know,
it sort
yeah.
of feeds into the misinformation that's printed
true.
in the
I
newspapers.
agree. Thank you. You're right to correct me. I mean, okay, so people don't just go
They've
around
considered
smoking
it, though,
pot and
just so you know.
I what?
They have considered
Oh,
it.
standing naked.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I mean, do whatever you want, but I just think it'll end up helping a lot of your causes too, because there are a lot of people within the Free Keene movement who, you know, say we're also frustrated with the fact that a lot of the positive things we do don't get as much publicity and whatever, you know. So hopefully this will kind of bridge the gap and start.
I think what also is going on that you guys is probably not on the radar is when this makes national news, like the drinking game, that hit the Canadian press, it hit like 5 or 6 TV stations, it hit public radio, the guy's morning show that has an audience of 1.5 million, it hit the radio in LA. That reached about 2.5 to 3 million people.
Right.
Made them aware of Free Keene.
Yeah.
You know, a few thousand went to the website, and out of that, a handful are going to move here.
Yeah.
And then the larger the movement grows, the more effective it'll become at bringing about these changes.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because it'll attract all different types of people who will get involved.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no such thing as bad press. Like, you obviously get people to listen to what you're saying, but I really believe that if you are truly dedicated to you know, creating a better world for everyone or whatever, you know, whatever you're dedicated to, I really don't think that the most honest and genuine way to go about that is by starting off with a negative publicity, whatever, you know, and then from there saying, oh, but look at all these good things we do too, you know. Like, there are some value to it, and I know, like, it happens a lot, lots of people, that's how movements get started or whatever, but I just think it's good to focus also a lot of attention on the, I just feel like there's a lot of imbalance on the Free Keene side from what I've seen, where they'll post videos or whatever and talk about a lot of the negative things that either happen to them or that create a negative image about them, and then they don't necessarily like talk about or post a lot about the positive things they do or the positive things that happen to them. Like, I was talking to someone online who I was saying, you know, you guys post a lot of videos of police getting aggressive or whatever, and then he said, well, we also write letters to police when we think they do things well, and I think that's great.
And
but it's not nearly as balanced, you know. People don't see you writing letters, they see the videos you post of cops.
Well, I mean, there was one time where a cop came out to the house the night before I was getting out of jail. Meg wakes up. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. She hears two men talking outside, sees a patrol car parked right in front of the house, and sees one person walking up to what looked like to the door. And so she kind of got really terrified by that. She turned the light on, and the person, she said, got in her car and drove off really quick, or stopped at the neighbor's house and then drove off. So we thought it was somebody trying to break in the house or plant something or whatever. It turned out to be one of the female officers was giving the neighbor a ticket and was talking on her cell phone when she wasn't supposed to, and that's what woke Meg up. So I came out and apologized, and there are other times where I've really appreciated the way that they've handled things, and I go up to them and actually tell them in person.
Right, and I mean,
And
that's definitely
also,
good.
Ken Miola and Ian and I have breakfast typically once a month, and we've done that a couple times now, to where we just sit and kind of talk about issues and,
Right.
and viewpoints.
And that's good from the standpoint that you're actually trying to, get things, affect change or whatever.
Mhm.
But from the standpoint of publicity, it's not equal. Like there are so many videos on YouTube of like people from your group or whatever, or the police, screaming at each other, top of their lungs, whatever, obviously very upset, causing a scene, whatever. Like that's fine. It draws attention to your cause, whatever.
It's
but,
just, I guess the problem is it doesn't make news when
right, but that's
when
where,
the good stuff
that's where
happens.
I have a problem is, are you concerned about making news, or are you concerned about, actually
Well,
promoting
no,
peace?
it's not to say that stuff isn't going on, but it doesn't make news national or international news.
I know what you're saying in that sense, that you do want to become nationally and internationally recognized. And the
Well,
truth-
it's not that. It's
Well,
that we
but
want people to know what's happening
it'll
here and
bring
decide if
more-
it's right
yeah,
for
it'll
them.
bring more publicity to your group and make the cause possibly even stronger. But the truth of the matter is that positive publicity is harder to make nationally and internationally, and I
Yes.
think that as Keene citizens, I think you'd find a lot more local support, which I think is very important for a local cause, if you tried for more positive publicity. And it's definitely harder to garner so much attention that way.
Yeah.
But I think to actually get the change and get the support within the community that you might need, like people who might actually be able to sway people more easily, you're going to want to get more and more positive publicity out there.
Okay, I agree with you. I want to respond to that, and then I got to run up to the
Okay.
meeting because it's about to start. The way it works is one of the activists comes up with an idea. I want to hold a free Keene Fest.
Yeah.
I want to do 420. I want to do this, whatever. They come up with their idea, they talk to other people about it, and the activists who want to encourage it and attend the event or participate. The ones who don't, might speak out in the forums about it and try, and it does sort of change the direction and the path that it takes. And so I would invite you guys to do your own events, and I think you will get a lot of free Keene people to come out and actually support you. And at the same time, be in there to have constructive criticism for the events that you don't like that people are planning.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I think we'll definitely
Okay.
be doing more of that. Thanks.
All right.